course. All right. Now I'm going to record. Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. This week I am here. I'm James P. Madonna of Mega Life 21. I'm here with my co-host and guest, Dr. Remulac. I said Remulac, not Lax. I don't want you idiots, you jabronis, to think I'm saying Lax. How you doing, Chief? How you doing this week?
It has been an exciting week.
Yeah,
Exciting.
it's a funny American custom is asking someone how they're doing, because if you turn around and say, well, how much time do you have? they'll start walking away from you.
You're right. They'll be like, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta sing.
Yeah. So anyway, 7 lucky bells for this show. All right. Now I want to start by saying, I want to lead up into something. During the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period, the popes of the Roman Catholic Church thought in their minds that they were the vicar of Jesus Christ and God. They thought they had a bat phone to God, or as Archie Bunker would say, to God. Now there are zealot evangelicals, perhaps Mormons, that think they have a bat phone to God. TV evangelists think they have a bat phone to God. They all think they have a bat phone. And meanwhile, of course, we all are guilty of sin. No one is without sin. Now I read rather in the news, that the FBI or the government, the authorities, have totally closed down Backpage.com, all because of the adult section. Now, instead of being concerned, wasting police hours nitpicking over busting moonshiners, johns, and prostitutes or escorts with sting operations, why don't they grow some balls and bust real high-level kingpin criminals like corrupt politicians on a high level, CEOs that are shady, so on and so forth. Go after the big shots. Don't do what mainstream media does, and do what you were telling me, sir, earlier about a diversion, distracting the sheeple and the lemmings from the real truth of what's really going on in our American society. It's nothing but a diversion. It's trivial. It's crap. There are two consenting adults. As long as there's no children involved, as long as no one gets hurt, there are two consenting adults banging each other
within reason
behind closed doors, because they probably don't collect taxes off of them. That's why they're busting moonshiners, hookers, and johns. Maybe, but I'm just saying.
That could be a song.
What's that, sir?
That could be a song. Moonshiners, hookers, and johns.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you got something there. It could be a blues country song. It could be a combo of the two. Yes, blue. You know what? We got something here. I'm not good at lyric writing. I know a couple dudes that are, but I can.
I change them into songs all the time.
You know what? Yeah, jot that down. That sounds, moonshiners, hookers, and johns.
Are persecuted.
There are persecuted. They're persecuted, and meanwhile, they are trivial drops in the bucket compared to what's really going on. Yeah, you got.
There's those diversion tactics.
Diversion tactics.
Let's make them look at this news story, this news story, this news story. Now we're gonna go fuck the shit out of the Middle East. All right, sounds good. That ain't good.
They're diversion. Then they of course they want to put the Jones name in the newspaper and embarrass the crap out of him if he happens to be a married man. Meanwhile, you're wasting all these police hours. You got to rent out the hotel room next to the phony hotel room where the very attractive police woman is part of the sting operation. Then all the cops rush in and try to scare the crap out of the John You're under arrest. Oh, hey, would they do that to? Let me see. Would
John
they?
Kerry, John Edwards.
Yeah.
Wasn't John Edwards' wife dying of cancer, and he went and got some intern pregnant?
Yeah.
I mean, that's moral bankruptcy.
I mean,
it's moral bankruptcy.
I know a sin is a sin is a sin, but if you're going to waste law enforcement hours on trivial things, and you're going to ignore the real big fat cat crimes that are going on, something's wrong with that picture. Something's wrong with that picture, and it's a shame. It's a shame Americans are sheeples, they're lemmings, they're distracted, they're kept in the dark about many things. But you watch the local news, what do you see? Bunch of trivial crap.
Nothing.
No,
it's worthless.
Hey, you notice the Clintons haven't been mentioned on CNN and since after the election, since November 2016. You very rarely, if ever, hear the name Clinton being brought up, or Abaddon or Anthony Weiner, who should get a job driving the Oscar Mayer Weiner truck, Wienermobile.
Fair enough.
You don't hear about them anymore. It's like you have.
Well, you do, but you don't hear about them on CNN. You don't hear about them on the local news because you got to understand something. All that's bought and paid for by Media Matters, George Soros, the elites, the oligarchy, like you like to call it. If you look just beneath the surface, it's there. And we discuss old stuff all the time. All in the Family, Jaws, the great movies. And if you remember Jaws, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners here do,
yeah.
The Amity Gazette editor said, "Don't worry about it, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to bury that in the back with the grocery ad." They weren't saying that to be funny. They were telling you that's what media does. It'll be the last thing on that hour of television. It'll be this last little bit, and it'll give you just enough information to almost make you climax. And they'll say, "That's all we have time. That's all we have time for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow to continue on this story." Fuck! Now I got to watch tomorrow, and I've got blue balls. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, one week
again.
It's something. It used to be Miley Cyrus.
The diversion tactics. If you look really hard, the diversion tactics are even stronger right now than I think they've ever been. I mean, Stormy Daniels, what multi-hundred billionaire dude hasn't banged out a stripper or porn star? And if you haven't, you might be fatting for the other team. Okay?
Well, if you're a multi-billionaire and
if I'm a billionaire and I'm not married, or even if I am married, and I say, you know what, I got enough money, I still love you, honey, I got kids with you, but it's always been my dream to pound out that nasty-looking Stormy Daniels for.
Yeah.
And, God bless him. God bless him.
Because people, when they get married for some reason, this Italian guy was explaining it to me. It's like the Virgin Mary syndrome. Your wife is supposed to be real pure and if she's the mother of your children, she's even more pure.
So you don't want her blowing you.
And so you don't want to sensualize and eroticize her. So then you have like when Tony Soprano, you had the gumadas on the side, the chicky poos on the side,
Let me tell you something. His wife in that show,
Carmela,
she is still sexy. Oh, still sexy. And I love the way she called it like she saw it.
Oh,
you worried about that? Yeah, how many people have I forgive you for sticking your dick in, you filthy pig?
She was pretty straightforward. The actress who played Carmela, she's pretty straightforward.
And she is in real life as well.
Yeah, no,
Very,
she shoots straight
very
from the.
straightforward, but those are classy women. I want a woman that can not only tell me where to go and what to do there, but she can also change a tire on a car.
Well, because
That's the kind of woman I want.
you'll respect a woman like that, like in
That's
every
right.
way.
These other floozies, they're garbage. And the millennials, they fell into that trap. But now there's a group of millennials called, and I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube, men go their own way. Just guys living by themselves.
Oh,
Because
I saw that
they,
website. I saw the website.
yeah, they see what's out there, and what's out there is garbage. And anything that's not garbage is already taken.
Listen, Gary No.
So,
Yeah, Gary No said, I don't know if you know Gary No, but he's like he's a guru in the alternative holistic medical field. Anyway, Gary knows
okay.
he's been around forever, like the late great Carlton Fredericks was, and Robert Atkins. He said that what it comes down to psychologically is a person has to uh, is responsible for creating their own happiness. You cannot rely on another human being, even if it's a significant other, on your happiness. If you're not happy in your life, at being you and what makes you unique and an individual, and you don't have a life and you're not happy and fulfilled in your personal life, you cannot expect like another human being to magically make you happy. Now, I'm not saying you can't be happier with the right person,
But the initial happiness comes from within your own life force.
yeah, you can't like rely on another human being.
I love seeing when people win the lottery, and I love seeing them 5 years later.
I love seeing all the cousins they thought they never had before knocking
Never
on the
had.
door. Hey,
Listen. If I want to talk to my family, I just have to hit the lottery.
They go, hey, remember me? We used to play in the sandbox together. Oh, I don't know you from Adam. Oh, yes, you do. The sandbox. Yeah, so it's like yeah, you have all these relatives coming out of the woodwork, and then like on the honeymooners at the end, after they tell you how wonderful you are, they go, well, by the way, I run into a problem in my life, and I need to talk to you about something there. Being that you're a real filthy rich relative now. It's a mere drop in a bucket if you help me out a little bit. And then see that's what happened to Shakira. See, my ex-wife was first cousins with the singer Shakira, and Shakira's father's Lebanese. So when she hit it big and became famous, her mother cut off all ties with the relatives. So one time they went back to their hometown of Barranquilla, Colombia, and the Lebanese side of the family, her uncles approached her like right away, hitting her up for money. And they got pissed when the mother said, fuck off. It's like, oh, now you want to know us? And they got offended. It's like, what do you mean? I am your uncle. Your father's my brother, and blah 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 blah. Now you're Shakira. Yeah, but you don't be a rude prick. Make it obvious like that. But as we say in Italian, we call them, I guess, cavones.
Cabron.
Yeah, crude, ill-mannered country bumpkin kind of people.
That's a hillbilly in Italian, pretty much.
Yeah.
But you got to understand something, though, James. We, the people, were born from that. That hillbilly mentality, that moonshiner, hookers and johns mentality, is what made us a superpower.
Well, our founding, the Continental Army which had it extremely rough. People don't realize what they had to go through. They were common folk, farmers, and blacksmiths and such. And
That's right.
yeah, okay. The rich are the ones that own plantations, and they had slaves, but that was the life back then. But it was a rough life. I mean, 1700s and 19th century America up until up through the Industrial Revolution. Well, right before that, it was tough because if you didn't have a family farm and make your own living, you were screwed. I mean, you were completely responsible for pulling your own weight. I mean, there was no safety net or anything, but like, you had to get the soil tilled, and you had to know, you had to have knowledge in farming, and you had to
You had
have.
to sow the seeds. You had to reap what you sowed. You had to bring what you repped to market.
Yeah, they used to
You were your own supply chain, and if I love watching that their Little House on the Prairie.
well, that's like
That
that. Yeah,
show. That's late 1860s, 1870s, right after the Civil War, and it's a good show. And it makes you realize where this country was born from. The people in Minnesota, Missouri, Iowa, what kind of lives they had. I mean, you had the Black Death in the 1920s, where all the soil blew away because they got rid of the prairie grass, which held the soil in place. These are all learning experiences. Had these farmers not learned from that experience, we would not be here right now, because we would not be a country of prosperity.
Right.
We the people. You started off with saying, you don't understand why these law enforcement agencies don't go after real criminals. They don't go after the top guys, and I have an answer for you. Because we, the people, or the sheeple, or the lemmings, however you want to call it, we, the slaughterhouse cows, because that's what we are. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about Black Angus ribeye steaks.
The slaughterhouse cows.
Okay.
We will watch whatever flashy thing you put in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
We want, the minute a loud car goes by, you've got to turn your head, because you want to see if it's a Corvette, or an older car, like maybe a 55 Ford, or a 60 Galaxy Ford, or a Corvette from the 1950s. We have lost the ability to think clearly. And let me tell you something, James. I saw a story the other day that wrenched my heart. They put a 5-year-old boy who was just being a boy. He was being a 5-year-old boy. His doctor in school told his parents, in order for him to go back to that kindergarten, he had to be on an ADHD drug. At 5.
He was probably consuming too much sugar. That's why he was hyperactive, or attention deficit.
No, they were boys will be boys. Boys are hyperactive. Boys don't know how to control themselves till they're in their early teens.
So they want to load them up with psych drugs.
They load them up with psych drugs, because then when the brain does finally develop, it develops malformed. And because we don't have any conclusive studies on what these psych drugs do, and the ones we do have, you could drive a tank through the holes in them. We know that shooter in Florida was on SSRI drugs. We know this. We saw it in his records. And you know what? Everybody's blaming the weapon. They're not blaming what was done to this kid.
I mean,
he was told to take these drugs. He was told to by a doctor. An authority figure told him, you got to take these. Okay. What am I going to say? No. And that's what altered that young man's life. Nobody wants to say that out loud, because you'll be immediately deemed a right-wing conspiracy nut or some sort of threat. I don't think medications help people at all. I don't even take a Tylenol. The only time I take something is if I have a tooth removed and they tell me to take this antibiotic
Right.
because your mouth, you're eating, so you could get an infection. Okay. Otherwise, I'm just taking a med. I take vitamins, lots of vitamins, and I feel better because I take them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was
So I
always.
mean, we again, you started out with the police department not doing their job. They always go after us because we're the easy target. You and I don't have a law firm to back us up. You and I don't have the money to go through a 10-year court case, even though you know and I know that we could win it. And it's because those are the easy targets. And
Right.
again, you hit the nail right on the head. You said that you can't tax a hooker by the hour. You can't tax a moonshiner by the hour. And if you can, we're going to end up putting safety controls on where you're going to have to make your moonshine in some sort of facility, not out in the woods. And there you've taken away their freedom to do what they want.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, yeah, people have been fermenting alcoholic beverages for probably tens of thousands of years, and then all of a sudden,
The Egyptians had beer. The Egyptians had beer. The Jews had wine.
True.
You're talking thousands of years of genetic engineering on how we do things. I mean, if you go into the hills of Appalachia and those folks up there, it's frightening. But if you actually sat and listened to them speak to each other, you can feel the love in that room.
Well, they're pretty tight. It's a close knit society, Appalachia. It's like they stick together, and they also know how to survive. I mean, probably more than anybody. I mean, big deal. They got a copper still. They got sour mash with sugar in it, and it's fermenting. And big damn deal. They're making huckleberry flavored moonshine. Oh, what a crime that is! Or some dude is getting laid in a hotel room from some 21-year-old hooker. The nation is gonna collapse because of that. I'm being sarcastic, of course, but
of course, I know that. I could read the facetiousness.
I mean, what about the fact that Americans are being lied to on the media? What about the fact the middle class is being strangled with taxation?
We are unfortunately, and again, this all comes back to the oversight part. When people in the revolutionary times, in the mid to late 1700s, said, you know what, we're not going to take this anymore. We're done. They didn't sit at home and go on their smartphone or watch their TV. They went out to the town square and screamed it. And then people stood up and said, all right, well, I'll lead this fight as long as y'all are behind me. And that's how we won this country. It is not my fault that there were Native American people here that got smallpox. That's not my problem. It would have happened eventually.
Well, it came from
Europe. They're constantly saying stuff about Christopher Columbus. He didn't discover it. He discovered, as far as the people in Europe were concerned, and the Mediterranean, he discovered a new world. We did not know it existed before that.
Well,
we also thought the Earth was flat.
Well, to Europe, it was a new world. Yeah, meanwhile, the carbon dating of ruins shows that there are civilizations in the Americas that go beyond 10,000 years, like in Bolivia.
Yeah.
But so to Europe, it was a new world. But Columbus had the mentality. He had the European mentality at the time, where he made a comment saying, "My, these native Caribbean people, which I believe were the Taino Indians, these native Caribbean people are so generous and friendly. I think they will make outstanding servants." Of course, that was an asshole thing to say, but that was the mindset of European colonization. Now, Australia, Botany Bay, the penal colony. People think, oh, they say it was a penal colony, right? So they dumped them on this a continent with so many poisonous creatures. It's incredible. But the point is that they might not be real criminals that were dumped on Australia. They might have just rebelled against the monarchy of England, who were overtaxing its people, and the biggest lazy ass welfare cheats in the world is a royal family, and they might not be. Same thing with pirates. All the famous pirates we watched growing up as a kid, the pirate movies, they just stole the booty, the gold from the royal family, and who was hoarding everything. And Robin Hood couldn't hunt in the king's forest. You couldn't hunt the deer because the king owned everything. And then of course the Irish, they couldn't even fish for cod. But they couldn't do anything. They couldn't have any like cattle ranching. It's because the king owned everything. The king owned this. The king owned that. So you had piracy, and so of course they hung them for treason and for
But isn't it amazing how we now have piracy again, but it's now piracy?
It's a high tech, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Piracy.
See, history repeats itself. Except now we're not stealing gold for booty; we're actually stealing booty.
Booty. Doubloons. They're not doubloons anymore.
And that is not the doubloons, but they're stealing something. And what they've stolen, this group of evil people, this group of people that have never worked for a thing in their lives, the Bilderbergers and the royal family and Soros and the leader of North Korea. These people are evil. I'm tired of my country because of these. I am tired of my country saying we have to go after this axis of evil. You want to go after an axis of evil? You really want to go after an axis of evil? Go after George Soros. Go after Google. Go after YouTube. Go after Twitter. Go after Facebook. Go after the Bilderbergers. Go after the first family of England, the royal family. Go after these people. Go after the leader of North Korea and China and all these countries that oppress their people. Those are the real accesses of evil. And you're not going after a country, you're going after people. And that has just lowered our costs of that fight by trillions of dollars. Because now you can have a $10 billion budget or a $10 million budget and catch all these people.
Well, any system
that's too easy.
Any system can be and has been corrupted. I've been watching the new movie I'm watching on Netflix, because I've watched so many, is the story about the Cuban singer Celia Cruz. And it shows the revolution of Castro overthrowing General Batista, the oppressor, Batista, and what Castro's people did when they took over Havana was one of many things. They demanded Celia Cruz to hand over the deed to her new home that she just built, and then they said, because they gave her an ultimatum: we demand that you perform in front of the Commandante, and you look at him with loving eyes as you're singing. They were saying how she had to kiss his ass and everything, and she refused to do it, and because of the threat of losing her house. So what they did was they stole the deed. They took the deed to her house. Then when she went to the Commandant's office and say, "Is this true? You're stealing my house that I worked hard for?" He says, "Yeah, we are. Everything is going to go to the Cuban people." This is what the excuse they had. Meanwhile, who knows whose pockets would be in line? So then they told Celia Cruz, "Oh, you want your house back? You got to buy it back from the government, from the Cuban government, from us. You have to buy your house back after we took the deed to it." So it's like they started off caring about the poor that were starving and they couldn't feed their own kids, and then like all of a sudden it kind of like started sounding started sounding corrupt.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm gonna ask the listeners a question too. It started out caring about the sick and the poor, and then it turned into we're going to take everything you've got and corruption. What does that sound like to you, sir?
So it sounds like stories.
The Democratic Party.
It sounds stories that I hear like about United Ways only giving like 20 or 25
UNICEF,
cents.
United Way, they give 10 or 12% of the money, and the rest goes to the CEOs and the office buildings.
Somebody's filling their pockets up with the loot, and it's not going to the worthy cause. Same thing with Joel Osteen, living high on a hog, TV mega church, TV evangelist.
Meanwhile, he wouldn't let people from a hurricane stay there.
Listen, you're a pastor. Let's say you're a pastor, and you're a damn good one, and you build up a church, you build up a congregation, and let's say you're on the radio. Hey, let's say you have a TV program. Now you have a TV time slot, a half hour a week. You're a dynamo. I don't mean you're a fake, like Peter Popoff. You lay your hand.
You're a real servant to the Lord Jesus.
Yes, you know the scriptures. You know the Bible. You've done many years of Bible study. You know scripture and you talk scripture. So you're a dynamo. That's what I meant by dynamo. Now, okay. Before you become a mega church, well, first of all, your church should never get to becoming a mega church, because if you're a true Christian, you should be helping those in need. And your church should never get that big to be called a mega church. You know what I mean? Like with Joel Osteen, he's got the mansion. He's got God knows how many cars he has. Who knows what he's got? Maybe he's got a private jet. I mean, I don't care if his family is healthy and is living well, but I mean, don't be extravagant and call yourself a man of God and a pastor.
You're a man of God and a man, and I believe Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade taught us this, James. Do you remember when they're standing in the cave with the knight at the end of the movie, and Indy's father gets shot. Anyway, the guy who forces Indy to go into the cave says he gets handed a cup, and it's got rubies, emeralds, diamonds, and it's gold. And the guy goes, "That is surely the cup of the King of Kings." And he drinks the water, and he ages, and he dies. And the lady says it would not be made of gold. It was a brass cup that a carpenter used.
You mean the Holy Grail? I'm talking about the Holy
Grail. Correct.
The Holy.
It was a brass cup.
Yeah.
If you're a man of God and you truly believe in the Word of God, I don't care what you tell me. I'm a true believer in the Word of God. He has given me everything I need to survive. Have I lived extravagantly? Absolutely not. Well, my home is 250 square feet.
Yeah.
I own a truck with a lot of miles on it. You've seen my vehicle.
Yes.
I got news for you. Do I wish I had a nicer trailer? Yeah. Do I wish my truck looked 100% and was perfect and I could jump in it and go anywhere? Yeah. But that comes with time. and good things come to those who wait.
You mean like if you had a truck where that was a turbo, a Dodge Ram turbo diesel, blah 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 blah.
Oh no, my company truck is a turbo diesel.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay, cool.
Not my personal one, my company one, the job I just got, that I had been praying for. You know, there's people that say that prayers don't get answered. I have been praying for a job that would give me stability and the ability to better myself and move forward as a human being.
Right.
And that's what the man upstairs gave me.
Right.
But I would never want to own a diesel as my personal vehicle, because I'd have to carry gloves to pump the diesel fuel, because diesel fuel stinks. And quite frankly, I get better fuel mileage with my GMC pickup than I do with the diesel truck I'm driving for work.
Well, it's not.
And that's fine.
It's not as inexpensive as it once was, diesel.
No, diesel fuel. In fact, before there were all these new regulations, you could have a tank, at your house for your oil burner for heat, and you could have a second tank put in, and you could pump that oil right into your truck. But now they dye the home heating oil red, and if you get stopped with that red fuel, it's considered tax evasion, and you could go to jail.
Oh, for God's sakes!
I'm not kidding, James. When I tell you there are, for every way there is to beat the system, and this is how you know the system's rigged. For every way there is to beat the system has 150,000 ways to beat you.
Now, this is very important, viewers, what Dr. Remulek just said. So absorb this. Yes.
Now, the reason it got that way, and it always goes back to we the people we gave up our oversight. And I will never understand that. I will never understand. Now, I have oversight of jobs, and I will never give my oversight up to anybody. And quite frankly, if I failed in my oversight, I will be the first one to tell you, look, I effed up on this, and it's my problem, and I'm fixing the problem.
Right.
That's the other thing we've lost. We've lost the oversight, and we always just keep passing the buck. The buck should stop with you. If you did something, if you drove drunk and ran over 3 kids and a woman who was pregnant, and, oh, it's not my fault. You got behind the wheel drunk. You drove that vehicle drunk, and you killed people. You can't pass the buck here. You weren't at a bar, right. And quite frankly, if you're at a bar, you should have to turn your keys in, and you should have to blow in a breathalyzer before you leave.
Yeah. Well,
I've got no problem with you selling alcohol and people getting drunk. But I tell you, the only place I get drunk, James, the only place I get drunk? At my home.
You see?
At my home.
You're a responsible
citizen.
You know
why? Because, one, I don't want to drive my vehicle drunk. My truck, my personal vehicle, weighs 6,100 pounds.
Oh, boy.
If I hit you with that at 3 miles an hour, your pelvis is going to shatter and you're going to die from internal bleeding. I don't understand people that get in their car after 1 beer.
Well, it's like
I don't understand
that. It's like this dude that I had this big argument with, and I had to kick him off all my groups on Facebook that wanted to. He wanted to completely ban all forms of marijuana. I said, first of all, besides being the greatest multiple cash crop known to man, as well as being one of the most medicinal plants of all time, hemp, if somebody abuses hemp, just like if you abuse alcohol, that's your fault. That's your responsibility.
That's right.
If you're going,
that's right. So,
if you're going to get high,
if there's a guy that has to be high when he goes to work, I know landscapers, and I got news for anybody out there who smokes weed. or who enjoys that. God bless you. I'm not going to lie to you. I have smoked weed, and if you get the good stuff, you'll enjoy yourself. It's it's definitely a mental thing. But anybody who's in a new area, find a local landscaper, because most landscapers I've met up and down the East Coast, they're all potheads, most of them, where they're high at work because they know their job. And you know what? Odds are when they're at your house doing your lawn, there's nobody home, and they're going to do their job and leave because they got bigger fish to fry. It's the kids you have to worry about. The brain, the human brain is not fully developed until 25 years old.
Right.
And I have acquaintances that I grew up with in high school who have smoked pot since they were 11 or 12 years old, 13 years old. I got to tell you, James, and the people listening, it shows. They look undeveloped. Their brains are clearly undeveloped.
But I mean, the same abuse is going on with opioids and prescription painkillers.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The opioid epidemic in this country. I think every high-ranking official from every pharmaceutical company, I think the folks that were at Medicare and Medicaid that allowed these opioids, these narcotics, to be sold at a $2 rate per bottle,
yeah,
and these people could turn around and get people hooked. I think every one of those people should be tried and convicted on multiple counts of first-degree homicide. You know why? Because you knew what you were doing was poison. You knew what you were giving out was super addictive.
right.
And yes, you're right. Certain things you have control over. I have never, in the history of doing any kind of reading that I do, in history books and medical science books, I have never heard of anybody overdosing from marijuana. However, I have heard horror stories, including in my own life, of people dying from dope. And they don't die from the drug.
Yeah.
Their body throws up and they're laying on their back. So not only did you die with a needle in your arm, those pictures are going to exist forever, but there was also vomit coming out of the side of your mouth, and you drown on your own vomit.
Well, Jesse Ventura
So
made a good point about marijuana. He says if you're smoking joints, you're going to mellow out, sit quietly in the corner, and listen to Jimi Hendrix. You're not gonna get drunk and beat up your wife like an alcoholic would. Get
well,
drunk or
and
start
there are
fights.
some people that should not drink. There are some people. It's funny how they say, well, some people shouldn't own weapons. Now, let me tell you something right now. There is something out there that is exponentially more deadly than a gun, and the viewers and listeners should hear this. There is something out there that is readily available from 10 o'clock in the morning till sometimes 2 o'clock at night in the morning, and it's called alcohol.
Yes.
Alcohol kills hundreds of thousands of people a year in the United States of America.
I believe it.
In fiery crashes,
Yeah.
in missteps, alcohol poisoning. People have been beaten to death by drunk people. I have never heard of anybody, aside from maybe fighting over a turf war for selling weed, of dying where marijuana was directly involved.
And what about spikes? What about spiked cigarettes? Blah, blah, blah. Spiked cigarettes that are spiked with chemicals to make you more addicted.
Addicted to them. Well, and it's funny. I started rolling cigarettes about by myself. I did it before this, but now I have a machine. And I roll my own cigarettes with this stuff called pipe tobacco. It's called Good Stuff. And when I read it, it has no nicotine.
I used to like Captain Black. Remember Billy Martin from the Yankees? Never a bite in a bowl full. Captain Black pipe tobacco. I used to smoke that in a freaking. I had a whole pipe collection. I had not a meerschaum, which is seafoam actually, I had different
Okay.
briarwood pipes. I had Missouri Meerschaum corncob pipes by Dr.
Beautiful.
Graybow. Dr. Graybow. I had them, you know, and
Well, my father had pipes, and then anyway, what I was saying about the tobacco is I did the research, and it turns out that cigarette tobacco that goes into cigarettes from the factory, Marlboros, Camels,
mm-hmm.
Pall Malls, Winston's, they all have chemicals sprayed, 5,000 of them. The major one is super addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used to smoke 3 packs a day. Well, with rolling my own cigarettes, I have a case that holds 12 cigarettes, and I take the machine with me on the road, and if I run out, I roll them. You know, on a stressful day, I'll run out. On a day like today, even with all the traffic and the running around and the exhaustion,
Right.
I only smoked 11 cigarettes. So, you know, people need to realize that everything is being done by design. If you think anything is a coincidence and you feel you don't have to question everything that you hear and see, then you are out of your mind. You must question authority. You must question judges. You must question your town leaders. You must question the leaders of your church and your schools, especially your schools. You have to.
And no one.
Again,
yeah. And no one.
No one.
No one should be above the law. No one.
That is right. I don't care if you were a president, an ex-senator, congressperson, secretary of state, district attorney. I don't care. If you've killed somebody and you're found to be held guilty for that, you need to do your I mean, Martha Stewart was involved in Enron, and she went to jail. Martha Stewart. I have curtains in my home from her. She's a great designer, and quite frankly, I would want to sleep with Martha Stewart.
Well,
I think she's sexy, and you know who else I find really sexy?
Yeah, who?
Is that broad from as time goes by, Judi Dench. I'm in love with Judi Dench and Betty White. Betty White's a classy broad.
Yeah, I'm not. I know who Betty White is, of course. She's God bless her soul. Is she still alive?
She is. In fact, she was at a roast. She was at the William Shatner roast, and I think I said this before.
Yeah.
She was at the William Shatner roast, and Artie Lang was there, and she came up to the podium, and the first person she addressed was Artie, and she said, "Oh, it's always good to see Artie Lang, knowing I'm going to outlive him." She was 90 at the time, and he was 45.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Because he's a drug. He abuses drugs. He's a sex addict. He's an alcoholic, but he's a funny guy. And when he's gone, I'll miss him. He's on some great shows. He's quick on his feet. Great comedian. Exponentially better than a lot of people. But because of his drug problem, he's going to go to the wayside at some point.
Did you happen to see the Charlie Sheen roast? That was hilarious.
I didn't. I've been watching. I remember do you remember the earthquake in Japan in 2011?
Yeah, Japan has quite frequent earthquakes. Yeah, yes.
Well, this was the one that messed up Fukushima.
Yeah.
And caused the tsunami.
And the tsunami, right.
All right, well, do you remember the stories in the news before that?
No.
It was Charlie Sheen. He was talking about tiger blood. I mean, winner, chicken dinner. And then we all turned the news channel to see the devastation in Japan.
Yeah, well.
You see what our minds are capable of? Not much if we keep letting the chemicals and the pharmaceutical companies take control of us.
Yeah, and Japan sits on 4 tectonic plates, but their buildings are designed to withstand earthquake, as opposed to Mexico City and many West Coast U.S. areas. But
that's another thing that doesn't sit right with me. The earthquakes that have been happening are happening directly in line with each other. If you draw a straight line across to them, and you do the measurements from HARP to where those locations are,
Yeah.
I got a funny feeling HARP is involved in this.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Because
You know,
the San Andreas Fault in the Sonoran Desert by the Salton Sea, which is east of where my girlfriend lives in San Diego, just had a 3.8 Richter scale earthquake recently. But the Mexico City one was big, as they usually are.
Well, you know, it's funny about the Mexican City earthquake. If you draw, you know, the New Madrid fault line is right in under the Mississippi, pretty much.
Really?
Right after the Mexican City earthquake, the Mexico City earthquake, there was a report that the water in the Mississippi was going away. Nobody knew where it was going. And if you draw a line from Mexico City to the New Madrid fault line,
right,
they are directly connected to each other.
Wow.
So I got a funny feeling that earthquake in Mexico City triggered some sort of fissure in our New Madrid fault line and then drained out the Mississippi. And I got news for you, pal. The Mississippi is the lifeblood of the center of this country.
Well, isn't the Colorado River going dry slowly?
No, but Lake Mead was going dry because of, you got to understand something. Lake Mead supplies like 5 major cities with water. Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, Las Vegas, San Diego.
Oh, it does.
And Los Angeles.
I didn't know.
Not to mention it supplies them with their power.
I didn't know that.
So you know you gotta understand something. They want to keep bringing in all these refugees and undocumented criminal aliens who, unlike your friend who's been waiting a long time to get here, can't get here. We don't have the infrastructure to support what we have. Have you heard? I mean, you watch the local news.
Yeah.
Those subways in New York break down more than my truck. And I've got 262,000 miles on my truck. And those subways break down more often than my truck.
Well, our rail system is pathetic.
Our rail system is shit.
It's a dinosaur.
It is shit. In fact, I took a dump before we started having this conversation, and it looked better than the rail system in the subways in New York.
You know that China's rail system even blows away the United States by miles. It's so much more high tech.
Isn't there a train there there's a train there that goes 321 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, like the one in Japan or Europe. Yeah. They only the United States has Amtrak.
If you want to, you know, and what really gets me is this, and this pisses me off. What do the trees and plants breathe?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. That's right.
And then they give off oxygen.
But here's the deal. If you want to solve the world's problems with global warming, if you were to make yourself 3 high-speed rail systems that go across this country and stop in every state, they're straight lines, but they stop in every state. And I got news for you. If I can put my car or my GMC and my camper trailer onto a train car and then stay in a sleeper car on the train and wake up in 3 days and be in California to do my business I need to do and then come back, why aren't we funding this?
And why aren't we funding light rails?
Why are we not funding? Well, I mean, listen, I don't care how clean the subway is. You go into the New York City subway, you might as well step into a Porter John on a 110-degree day in the desert, and the urinal cakes have been gone for 6 weeks. Okay?
Yeah, what I mean,
the last time I was on a subway in New York City, the smell made me want to vomit. Not to mention people coughing on you. They're overcrowded. They're unclean. The most unfriendly people operate these trains.
And why? How come there's no safety rails at a subway station? So some
after all of these,
fucking,
you know what?
Yeah.
I was gonna. You son of a gun. You beat me to the punch because I was gonna bring that up. I'm like, with all the people getting pushed off the subway, why doesn't this train line up with a plexiglass window? And when the doors on the train open, son of a bitch, the doors on the fucking platform open. Why aren't we doing this?
Every time I see international subway systems and light rails, whether they be subterranean or above the ground, they look like you can eat off of them. They're so clean and they're modern and they're high tech. I mean, even Jersey City has this. I mean, I'm not saying it's new and high tech and electromagnetic monorail, all that crap, but it's above the ground and it's like a modern day trolley car, and it's better than taking a bus, and it works. I mean, other countries.
It works.
Yeah,
you know what? The
works.
most important thing is it works.
Trolleys.
It works.
The trolley system. People don't realize the Brooklyn Dodgers were originally called the Trolley Dodgers. The trolleys, they were out here, and I know they were old back in the day, but it you know what? You don't have to worry about traffic with a light rail. If you want to call it a trolley, call it a trolley. You don't have to.
You're right. What I think happened here was we forgot how many people we could employ in the actual mechanics field. You got to remember, if you install trolleys in every city, or light rails, like what you're saying, like the one in Jersey City, in every city you have to have a crew that can work on them, and they have to be employed 24 hours a day because that rail is going to run 24 hours a day. So you hire yourself that crew. Now you've just put 500 people to work.
Yeah,
and
they're electromagnetic, I believe, so they're pollution free.
Well, it's electricity, and quite frankly, there must be a way with solar technology to operate those things on sunny days under its own power, without having to have you energize the magnets inside the trolley instead of the other way around. And I got news for you: if you could do that, you'd be, you would have saved the world a ton of trouble. Now, here's the deal.
Did you know? Yeah.
You would need to have that trolley would have to run down the center, and you would need to have some sort of platform above it, so that the people could maybe go out the top, and they walk across to their streets, and you have this infrastructure with the technologies we have. You're telling me we couldn't come up with a 6-inch thick, 12-foot diameter or 12-foot rectangle wide by 10 feet tall to go across a city street, and you have a stop every 3 blocks or every 5 blocks?
Right.
Well, I mean, that would be the ideal thing.
Well, did you know that German scientists invented a solar tower that you can easily put in the Mojave Desert or Death Valley or wherever, and they're more effective than solar panels. And also there is a hydroelectric buoy that will bob in the surf off the coast of the United States, and as it bobs, it creates electricity. I mean, God's sakes! And then you can make these what do you call solar paneled rafts? Like several football fields large.
Well, but the problem is you got to realize that when you're doing that, you're impacting a lot of things that we don't know yet. I mean, there are things about listen. I got to tell you, James, and this was a statistic that is still holds true today. I believe in the early 1980s, maybe mid 1980s.
Yeah.
it turned out that the deep space had been explored more than our deep oceans.
That's very true.
That means, I mean, 2/3 of the planet, 2/3 of the planet is covered in water.
Well, now you have the Kepler.
And we don't know what the fuck is down there.
Listen.
But I bet you somewhere really deep down, you've got a current that's probably moving at 30 or 40 knots. And you could put yourself a huge turbine down there and run that wire via pipeline under the on the ocean floor back to whatever country you need it to go to. And now nobody's paying
There's
for
a
it
lot of mysteries.
because the ocean's going to move no matter what. And all you have to do is put some sort of unit in front of it to keep the fish away. And I got news for you.
Yeah.
Fish have been living a longer time than humans have ever lived, and they're still surviving. So I'm sure after a couple of their friends get chopped up in that turbine, they'll realize to stay away from it. I'm just saying.
They're not that stupid. They you know, like people use the term bird brain. Let me tell you something. The birds over here by me are smart. I've seen them do smart things. But you're right about hydroelectrics involved with oceanic currents. Oh, by the way,
there's a guy.
U.S.
There
Navy
was a guy.
yeah.
Go ahead. U.S.
Navy has seen UFOs go under the ocean at lightning speed and emerge from it.
And not leave a splash.
Yes. And the government tells them, hush, hush on this. Do not speak of it.
Well, you know, listen, in 2004, there was a huge beaching off in Washington State.
Yeah.
And not only whales and dolphins washed up, but people said they saw bodies. And that's from, you know, and that's true because it was in very obscure newspapers, you know, like the Seattle Gazette, you know, said that people had found spears that washed up on the coast, and with the whales upwashed other things. And the Navy, there was a guy that leaked. The Navy said that what they took off the beach was exactly what the scientists thought it was. You can't tell me that we're the only intelligent being on this planet. You can't tell me that. I won't believe that. I don't believe that. There is other intelligent beings out there, whether they live on, I mean, dolphins are smart. And you know do you know what mammal has the most intricately wound brain on the face of the planet? Take a wild guess, James.
An chimpanzee?
Wrong. An orca. An orca whale has the most intricately wound, 10 times denser than ours will ever be, brain. And did you know that actually evolved from a wolf-like ancestor 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago?
Do you remember the old movie named Orca, where the orca got revenge on the humans?
I do remember that movie. In fact, James, it was on 3 weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon on free air television, and I watched it.
Yeah,
he wanted revenge.
And you know
that male lost his wife and his child.
And don't forget elephants. Don't underestimate them. They are very intelligent creatures too.
They remember exactly where their spouse died, no matter what.
But they remember who's kind to them and who's abusive too.
That's right. I mean, you've got there are poachers in Africa that will put out pieces of 2x6 with like 8-inch nails sticking through them. and put them underneath some brush so that elephants will step on it. And that punches through the bottom of their feet, and whatever's on it will have poison on it. I mean, that's absurd. This is the kind of this is what happens when you don't have oversight. This is what happens when you can't trust human beings to actually act like human beings.
Well, the same thing with
why'd you kill that elephant? I wanted its tusks.
Tusks.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You wanted some ivory, so you decided to kill an elephant. You're a piece of trash.
Same thing with
you're trash.
with the poor African black rhino. I think became extinct, or because of the rhino horn.
It's about to. It's about to.
About to. What about?
It's about to become extinct.
What about Bengal tigers are severely endangered? Even Siberian
tigers. Of course, because people always worry about themselves. Here's the deal. We've discussed everything. We've discussed the middle class. We've discussed millennials. We've discussed what's going on with our government. And I'll tell you what we haven't discussed. We have not discussed
our planet,
the deforestation. No, we have not discussed the deforestation.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. You put in one of those light rails or Magnaflux rails or whatever you want to call them in Jersey City. And the people can drive. It does its thing. There's no huge structure. It goes down the middle of the road just like anything else. And now you're able to have less cars in the city because people can jump on either 2 to 3 blocks from their house. And you know what? For residents, it should be free.
You know what?
For residents of Jersey City, it should be free. And I'll tell you why. Because they have to look at this.
Well,
not only does it have to be pretty, but it has to be functional.
Well, with the astronomical cost of car insurance in New Jersey, I think light rails and a high-speed rail system would be wonderful. I mean,
and I don't think it should be controlled via hardcore computers. I think you should have to have trained operators that have no medical problems, and there's always a co-pilot.
And not numbskulls like the New Jersey Transit bus drivers, which are also school bus drivers are also.
That is another. Let me tell you something right there, James.
Yeah.
That is another topic because the driving in your state is. I'm appalled. I've driven in Florida with the blue hairs,
Yeah.
And folks that have completely shattered windshields. And I'll tell you what, y'all up here you're out of your mind.
Well, even the Atlantic City bus drivers are nuts. They're like the New Jersey Transit bus drivers. They're like.
And that's another thing too. I mean, why the hell don't I have in the state that I was born in? Why don't I have a train that I can jump on right here? Let's say in your town or where I'm staying. I can park in the lot. I can jump on that train, and for $10, I can get dropped off in Woodbridge.
Yeah,
and for another $25, and for another $25, I can drive. I can take that train down to Long Beach Island, and then from there, if I want to, I can go to Cape May.
Hey, wait a
and
minute.
Atlantic City.
That's a great subject.
Why the hell, paralleling the Parkway, don't I have a train that goes north and south?
Yeah, why isn't there a high speed?
You do that in the state of New Jersey. You do that, and you will be able to have literally people that only have their cars to go down the shore. With Uber nowadays, now I wouldn't get an Uber after hearing the horror stories, nor will I get in a Lyft, and I won't get in a cab. I don't trust people. But I'll get on a train.
Well, I've taken Uber twice to and from the hospital to get my hernia procedure, and I've been lucky so far. But I want to get back to the Jersey Shore points. Wouldn't it be fantastic if there was a new high-speed rail system that went to every
That
single Jersey Shore point, from Sandy Schnook,
that would be incredible.
from Keensburg to
Because
Sandy Hook
when you go in,
yeah,
you could get off that high speed rail at Sandy Hook and take another high speed monorail up to the fishing department, where you go to the end in the Atlantic Highlands.
right. And
You know,
every
it
short
takes you
point,
out along whatever road that is.
Asbury Park, Long Branch, Asbury Parks, Point Pleasant, or whatever, Seagirt, all those, Hazlitt, bum, 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 one after the other, all the way down to
That's right.
LB, Sleazy Side Heights, which is what I call it now,
Oh,
Sleaze Side.
I hear there's a film on the water in the summertime.
Hey, you want to hear something real funny? My brother came over to visit. He does that once in a big while. Comes on a Thursday.
God bless.
Actually, he says he's coming to visit mom, but he really, he has an ulterior motive.
He can't stand it. He can't stand his wife.
Yeah, that's another. That's a whole nother talk show. But there's another ulterior motive. But anyway, we're recording, so I won't get into it. But I wanted to put something educational on, like the Science Channel or something. And no, he wanted to watch Jersey Shore vacation movie. The crew from the Jersey Shore with Snooki and the whole gang and JWoww goes to Florida. You know what?
Listen,
I felt like
you know what I would have
myself.
said. Permission to speak frankly.
Go ahead.
I don't know your brother, but if I had happened to be at your house at the time, and he said that, I would have looked at him. I would have looked at you, and I would have said, "Wow, my mind's blown. I'm gonna go home." No offense.
You know how much pettiness I listened to? I had to endure listening to those imbeciles open their mouth, all of it, and they're more tattooed than ever before. I mean, Snooki's got. They all have these freaking tattoos. Before. Oh my God! Why
gross.
do they?
Gross.
Why do they have to? Why don't they just join a circus?
She's not even that attractive. Like, it's not like you're this wow, like, oh my God. You're a greaseball. I'm Italian. If I grow my hair in and flick it back, you would call me a greaseball. Well, and that's what these kids are. They're all overprivileged, and the problem is, there's another thing. Your brother, I don't know how old he is, but I'll tell you what. He wants to watch a movie about a bunch of overprivileged, never worked a day in their life, pieces of garbage millennials.
Well, they all they do is whine about stupid things. I mean,
if I want to see that, I'll watch Seinfeld.
You know what happens when a millennial, gets tattooed all up and down her arms and her shoulders? What if she's invited to a real special gala, a special occasion, and she has to wear a formal dress? What is she gonna do?
Long sleeves.
She's got to wear long. She's got to cover that up. I mean, you look like a tattooed lady from a circus, for God's sakes. I mean,
I heard a great saying, and I don't remember who said it. I can't recall. However, it was, if you don't feel it on the inside, you have to paint it on the outside. I feel it on the inside, brother. I don't have a single tattoo on me. I got scars from working. And I got scars, other scars, but I tell you what.
You got calluses. You got calluses on your knuckles, on your palms.
On my hands, my feet. And I'll tell you what. Because I'm a working man. I don't want a handout. I don't want your handout. Keep your handout away from me.
Oh.
I don't play the lottery. You know why I don't play the lottery?
Not even a scratch off?
Not even. I'll tell you why. Because the odds of winning are not high enough. If it was a 50-50 chance of winning every time, I would play because there's a chance I could win my money back,
Yeah.
and it was nothing.
If it was meant to be,
But
if it was meant to be, you'll win whether you bought
the
one.
problem is
Yeah.
you have to give your information over to the government. I think personally the lottery is a scam.
Well, let me ask you a lottery question.
Because when you win, in order to collect your money,
Yeah.
you have to show all forms of ID and birth certificates.
And another
And
thing.
I'm not willing to do that.
Another thing, Dr. Remy, like, if you won the Powerball lottery, why do you have to put? Why do you have to go on television, holding up a gigantic facsimile of the check, and let the whole
Well,
friggin' world know that you just won the
there's
Powerball
an
lottery?
easy answer for that. There's an easy answer for that.
They suck.
Because most people who are the sheeple, the lemmings, most lemmings see that and say, "Oh, I'm going to play lottery because I could win."
That could be me.
You know, that guy did.
That could be me.
But yeah, exactly. Jealousy and greed. So they put that big check out there and they say, "Look at this.
You know what happened?
Look at this, James. Look at this. Give me $1 a day. Give me $1 a day, and I could give one of these to you."
You know what
at
happened
some
to?
point.
You want to know what happened to this old friend of mine by the name of Professor Bobby Katz, this little Jewish guy? He was a mathematics genius and teacher at Rutgers, right? He was a blackjack card counter. So what happened was
Nice.
he went to a few casinos and he ended up winning a couple hundred grand in one casino, 350 grand another casino. Guess what? He got banned from all the casinos because he got greedy and he stood there too long, winning too long. Because even though the casino loves to advertise and show that people win, if you win too much,
Now you're suspect.
Now
Now you're
cheater.
suspect.
You're like the Wild West, like you're playing poker in a saloon. Hey, this guy's been winning all night. You got marked cards. You're a cheater. Here, he pulls out a 6-shooter. You know, it's like you can't be too good. Like, in other words, if you're good at gambling,
But that's a problem because everything I do, no matter what it is, I give it 100%
right?
as best I can, and that's winning. So if I do that with everything I do, whether it be taking a dump in the morning, or taking a shower in the morning, or washing and folding my clothes, or trying to keep my house organized, I'm winning.
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm suspect? Because if that's the rules in the casino, that the minute you win too much, you're a suspect. That's a problem for me.
That means they want to run a 3-card Monte or a shell game. They want to run like a Ponzi scheme.
That's what they're running. That's what they're running, James.
Words,
it's not that they want to.
Yeah.
It's not that they want to. It's that they are. They are, and everybody who goes to casinos and gambles, and that become gamblers, like you see. You remember the old movies with the old women in the casino smoking a cigarette, and they got a growlier voice than your father did. Okay.
With the cigarette holder.
Yeah, with the cigarette. Well, the cigarette holder, or it's like a Salem 100 light menthol, you know.
Oh.
And you can tell they've been smoking a while because their hair is yellow where they've been holding the cigarette.
Like B. Arthur. From
exactly.
Warren,
like Kathleen Turner. Like Kathleen Turner. Hey, how are you? What the hell?
Hey, did Mae West? Mae West had a cigarette holder, didn't she?
I believe so.
Hey, boy,
speaking of old people, speaking of old people, how about Bill Cosby?
Fat Albert. Hey.
Yeah, hey. You're going to be on lockdown, Mr. Cosby.
You know what? He never made me laugh. He never made me laugh. I found him very annoying. Mr. Huxtable. Dr.
Yeah,
Huxtable.
you know, it's funny. I don't know if you listen to Ben Shapiro. I'm in the truck all day, so I have to listen to something that keeps my brain going. And I listen to Ben Shapiro on 770 AM because it's got a really long broadcast wave. And he said that he didn't think that people were going to, like, you know, change their opinion on Dr. Huxtable.
Dr. Huxtable.
You know, they didn't think he didn't think that, you know, oh, this isn't going to change their opinion on the show. I didn't, after the first time I heard that he was suspect in this, I don't watch anything he's in. Because you're right, I don't find him funny. He's got this childish sense of humor, which is creepy. Mm-hmm. Kind of like creepy Uncle Joe Biden giving all those little girls hugs. Oh, I mean, creepy Uncle Joe and creepy Uncle Bill. I mean, creepy Uncle Bill. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. It's not Bill Cosby. It's creepy Uncle Bill.
Joe Biden.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the audience, creepy Uncle Bill.
He likes to
and Uncle Joe, Uncle Joe, I believe Dennis Miller hit the nail on the head. When somebody was putting those corkscrew hair plugs in the front of his brain, they severed a discernment lobe because that man has no parking brake.
Yeah, but when he embraces little girls and fondles them, I mean, I'm sure that's deliberate, isn't it?
I find it creepy. And if I ever met a politician who looked at my 8-year-old girl and said, "Come give me a hug," I would look at that politician and say, "You touch my child, and your security detail is not going to help you."
Yeah, I would take my phone out immediately and video the whole friggin' thing. You know.
No. I would. It would be over before it began.
Hey, what did you think of Mr. Rogers with that gay voice he had?
Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you know the history. Do you know the history of Mr. Rogers?
Not really.
Mr. Rogers was a top Navy man.
Really?
He was equivalent to a SEAL.
Him? Really?
Him.
Oh, geez.
Do you know why he always wore long sleeves?
Oh, you mean the cardigan sweater?
Yeah. Do you know why he always wore a long sleeve shirt? Do you know why he always wore those?
What, he had scars on his arms or something?
Hardcore tattoos. Hardcore.
Really? With that voice?
Women.
Oh, geez.
Women giving blowjobs. That man had 6 kids.
Yeah. Why don't you be?
He was very soft spoken, but incredibly he was a diehard man. He's a legend. I used to watch his Neighborhood when I was growing up. I would watch Channel 13 when I was 3, 4, 5 years old. And you know what's really funny is it's still on, and my best friend's kids watch it sometimes.
I watch Romper Room, Diver Dan with Seabiscuit and Baron Barracuda. I watched.
Oh my God! Stop! You're making me feel old.
I watched Officer Joe Bolton and the Stooges. I watched all of them. Bozo. I watched.
I remember Saturday mornings, the Three Stooges would be on, and I used to watch it in my parents' room. On their television.
Women don't get the Stooges. I noticed that they get hey, Coily, hey, Curly, he's shaving the ice. He's wait a minute, he's stuffing the turkey. He goes 2 eggs separated, and he lifts the eggs up and he separates them and he goes diced onions and he's making like he's shooting crabs and then what does he do? Oysters shucked. Or whatever, and I don't know. He does something funny with the oysters. He's stuffing anything.
These were comedic geniuses.
Hey, shaved ice, Curly, and he's putting. Hey, you come here often, and he's putting the cream on the block of ice, and he's sharpening up.
What about Harpo Marx? Harpo Marx couldn't speak, but an incredible comedian.
Well, he had the he had the cord tied to the money. You know, he used to pull the money back. Oh my God!
This is what we've lost. You know, I mean, you've got people out there on the left that are completely insane. I mean, they're completely nuts.
You know,
They're nuts.
Cosby took the Little Rascals off the air. You know that.
I know that, but here's what's really, really awful is that people like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, you know, it's funny. I'm on Twitter and I follow a guy and he follows me. He's from Minnesota. And do you remember what the you remember hashtag used to actually on the phone? Do you know what that symbol is called?
The tic-tac-toe. I call it tic-tac-toe symbol.
It's the pound sign.
Yeah, the pound sign. There you go.
Okay, so that Me Too movement. You remember Me Too?
Yeah.
It had the hashtag in front of it, and this kid goes. He said, "Wow, didn't we used to call it the pound sign? So now is that pound Me Too?"
Hey,
just flipped it around and that went away.
The only hash I care about is corned beef hash next to my eggs. I don't care what hashtag there. What does that do anyway? What does that do?
You remember? Hey, you were you remember chipped beef and toast, right?
Well, that was shit on a shingle, right?
Shit on a shingle. Yeah. Nobody knows what that is. Give me some shit on a shingle.
What about that southern red-eye gravy over a buttermilk biscuit? They used to call it red-eye gravy.
It's called sausage gravy.
Yeah, it's like
sausage gravy.
It's a deep South specialty.
And I actually, let me tell you something. In South Carolina, I used to go to a Waffle House every day. And this Waffle House had one of the hottest waitresses I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
God bless her in Dorchester County. And I'll tell you this.
She had a lovely southern drawl.
Oh, I'd walk in there. She'd say, "How you doing today, sir?" And I'd say, "I'm doing well, ma'am." She said, "Your usual, smothered, covered, and chunked, because that's how you get your hash browns." And I said, "Biscuits and gravy."
Now, there's a restaurant in Savannah, Georgia, that makes hominy grits in many exotic ways. If you want shrimp, Creole.
Shrimp and grits.
If you want shrimp,
you're making me think of breakfast now. I'm gonna have to go to the store now.
I'm gonna have to start talking like a foghorn leghorn now. I ain't no chicken.
I'll tell you what. You know what? Sunday morning, I'm gonna have shrimp and grits, and I'm gonna make it for brunch.
I like to. I don't know why. Bob's Red Mill. I'm very disappointed at Bob. He is supposed to sell certified organic, non-GMO grains and stuff, and only a tiny percentage of his products are certified organic. So when I went to pick up the corn grits, because he sells the corn grit, he says corn grits, also known as polenta. Okay, I know polenta. It's pre-cooked, like steamed corn grits.
Yeah, you want it from the raw.
Why can't he sell? I'm willing to pay a little bit more money for non-GMO, organic, certified corn. I don't want no friggin' Monsanto corn grits. I mean,
you're damn straight.
I sent him a message. They apologized to me. Why? I said, why does every corporation have to apologize to me a million times? Why don't you just, give me an answer?
I was on the phone with my bank today, and they did that to me. And she kept, "I'm sorry for the inconvenience." And you're not even speaking to somebody in America. What the fuck?
What the hell is your... I said, well, what is your take on my problem? Do you have an opinion, ma'am? Do you have anything to say? Can I speak to your supervisor? Can you pass this on to your executive branch? I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? You know, I mean, what I'm saying, what I'm complaining about.
People, the problem is there is a major disconnect. And what's funny is there's an ad being run on 770 currently that is very true. Uh, they they uh, they say there's a disconnect between law enforcement and the people, and that's true. It starts with law enforcement, and then it goes from there. You know, why is there a disconnect with your congressman, your congresswoman? I mean, you tell me. There's a disconnect because these people don't want to hear what you have to say. They just want you to keep paying.
No, they also people
You
are.
know, no. You had said you're tired of the elites and the oligarchy and all this other stuff.
That rig everything. Yeah.
It's all rigged. We, the middle class, I'm going to tell the people listening and watching,
Okay.
and if it's ever re-uploaded, that we, the people, have been the punching bag and the bankroll long enough. The progressive left has gone off the rails. Progressive left has gone completely off the rails.
It's extreme. It's extremism is where the heart of the problem.
And that's the problem. We have extremists. They graduated a guy from West Point, and the minute he got outside of the school,
right,
he took off his shirt, and his T-shirt said, "Communist forever."
Well, that's kind of stupid. You know, I mean, you know, people.
What do you mean stupid?
Yeah, people are.
This is how he was raised.
People are afraid.
This is how he was raised.
People are afraid of saying the word no. They're afraid of hearing the word no. They're afraid of offending someone, which is part of being a politically correct neoliberal. Afraid of hurting somebody's feelings and not having them like me. Ooh, people are not going to like me anymore. That's what the PC neoliberals are. They want everybody to love them. You know.
Well, you know what? I think there's two things we need to remove from our vocabulary, and then I'll end on this.
Yeah.
Is this. One, politically correct culture has proven one thing. It fails every time. Rome, Italy, the French, the English, the Nazis, political correctness. You couldn't say this, you couldn't say that. And then the gun control came. They took all the guns. And then 12 million Poles, 6 million Jews, 8 million Russians got burned in ovens.
And that's not counting.
Think about that.
That's not counting Stalin, what he did. Good.
Exactly. So you tell me something, sir. Political correctness has failed in every application it's been put in. It's like this. Here's the deal. You go out and you buy yourself a brand new Ford Expedition with the 10-speed automatic transmission. And it was, by the way, this is true. This is true. Everybody who just bought that truck, 2018, got a recall letter from for the transmission.
Uh-huh.
The transmission is failing. Now, here's my question. If the recall letter went out, did they solve the problem? Most probably they did. Something is failing, they found the problem, they fixed it. Okay. Well, political correctness is like the Ford Pinto.
Oh, God.
All right? It's failed in every application it's ever been applied in.
Yeah, and the Chevy
It
Vega.
does not work. And here's why it does not work.
Yeah.
The more you repress people's ability to fucking exercise their right to curse and swear in public, so they don't pick up a tire iron and beat each other to death with it. This is why you have the violence today.
Hey,
We have less guns now than we had in 1975. And people are dying from guns. And now they're not dying from guns either. They're dying from truck attacks.
well,
People are renting enterprise vans and budget trucks. What the fuck is going on here, James? Political correctness. You are repressing people's ability to express themselves fully.
And political correctness is destroying straight heterosexual male-female relationships. And if DIFUS tells somebody who has a very problematic child that you cannot discipline your child anymore, then let's see how well DIFUS can raise your kid. You know, if political correctness interferes in so much, I got personally, you know, because of political correct censorship, I lost my original Facebook account that I started in 2012 because I posted Ric Flair's daughter Charlotte put out some nude selfies of herself, and I just posted the link on one of my groups. I go, hey, look at Charlotte. She wants everybody to see what she looks like.
You can't do that. That link, it doesn't matter if it's a picture. You got to remember something. Facebook was a research project.
Right.
And unfortunately, thanks to folks like myself and you and millions, hundreds of millions of other people, they have gathered information.
Well, they don't want people to get offended by anything on Facebook. Like heaven forbid somebody should take offense.
Which is why, James, I deleted my Facebook account the minute I heard a rumor that my information was sold.
And he was
I deleted it.
And that hawk-nosed Wall Street Zionist son of a bitch was doing it.
That's right. You know why?
Because he can.
Because he was raised with no moral compass. The second point I was going to make, because I got to tell you, Tucker Carlson's on, and I don't have the internet here, so I can't watch two things at once.
Right.
The second thing I have to say is I am disappointed in a lot of my leaders. I am disappointed, most of all, in my fellow Americans, that we have not seen this attack coming sooner and could have been able to prevent it from going this far. Because at this point, you have altered the future of our country to a path that is unacceptable in my view. We have children graduating high school at a fourth grade level reading and math. We have an infiltration and an invasion of undocumented criminal trespassers.
Yeah.
We don't know who you are, where you came from. We need to know that. If you were born here, we have a record of where you came from because you have a fucking birth certificate. And a story. Right. You cannot debate illegal immigration with me. I need to know where you're coming from before you come to my country, because you are eventually going to come in my country, literally, and make a baby.
Well, you also...
And I need to know I'm not raising a family of fucking criminals.
You also...
Sorry.
If you're coming here legally, you can't... And you're a law-abiding person, in the same respect, you cannot be screwed over by the system if you're doing it legally. You're doing it
we have a broken immigration system, and we have a broken republic. And if we don't fix the cracks immediately, and we need to bridge these gaps, because otherwise we are going to tear ourselves apart like the Columbia did on reentry in 2007.
Hmm.
Okay?
Well,
This is the issue.
well, you see how smug and arrogant the look on Mark Zuckerberg's face is. I mean, he's like a
Oh,
sociopath.
what a piece of garbage. That guy is the definition picture of psychotic sociopath.
He's like that Wall Street pharmaceutical, that young piece of shit that had that smug a smile that smile on his face when he went to court. The one that was rigging prices for pharmaceuticals. You know, no,
Oh,
not
yeah.
rigging, price gouging. He was guilty of price gouging. You know, when yeah,
And
him.
when he was sitting in front of Trey Gowdy
Yeah, what's his name?
at that,
Yeah, I can't pronounce his last name. He looked like a punk, like a little punk kid. Schmigely. Oh man, he was a young uh, uh,
these people
whiz
are
kid.
evil, James.
He was a young pharmaceutical whiz kid that was price gouging with important life sustaining drugs. And
People like that,
yeah.
people like that are going to be in the hottest part of hell. Even if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in hell,
Hey,
surely,
Lake of
wait a
Fire.
minute, wait, those atheists, surely they believe in karma, and that's all I got to say.
Well,
Karma's a bitch, ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
and when she comes collecting, you are up Schitt's Creek with a turd for a paddle.
And she collects. She will collect. You know,
Sure, she will.
she will collect.
On that note,
Yes.
I
Yes.
hope we've hit all your points this evening.
We hit a lot of points. I think this show has become the voice of reason. Not the voice of extremism, but the voice of reason and
Well, I think you're
common
hearing.
sense. Yeah.
I think the people that are listening, if there are people listening, and I hope there are, because what we spew is not hatred. We do not hate anyone. I don't care if you go out after work and blow a dude, and you're a dude. I don't care. If that's your bag, have at it.
Listen.
If you go out and lap some clam, go for it.
Listen. If we're sitting in
But
Houlihan's at the bar and
but
we're
you and
watching,
I,
yeah, we're yeah.
um, you and I have it's about educating people, and if I do that in a very crude way, um,
Yeah.
I don't pull any punches. It is black and white. If you break the law, and we can prove it, you're guilty. Don't care.
Yeah,
If you're a
regardless who
law,
you are. I just don't want to. I don't want to have to go through my life walking on eggshells, worrying about offending anyone. I was at the buffet and I was videoing some food, and I made a comment. There was a millennial female, getting food next to me, and I says, "I don't want you to think I'm talking to myself. I'm actually doing the video." She didn't even like acknowledge what I said. Didn't even look up, smile, laugh, nothing. It was like, because I'm a lot older, so I guess I'm ready for the glue factory. I'm not worth acknowledging. You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
no, you got to understand something though. Again, we spoke about this last week, where you got to see where this is coming from, James. And until we can get control and oversight back of the police department,
Right.
school board, your local city council where you live needs to have blue collar workers on it that have moral compasses that can't be bought. And here's the problem: you don't have that.
No, we can't even collect rainwater on our own property. I mean, you can't do a lot. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. You pay
We
high.
have hit a point now. We have hit a point now where we need to start speaking about how we are going to change this.
I mean, people out there, viewers, listen to me. You hear about the American dream of owning your own home. Okay, well, maybe if you were out in Montana, maybe you really do. But around here in good old Jersey, let me tell you something. If your stockade fence is too high, they'll force you to shorten it. If you have a hen house, they'll fine you for having livestock. If you have vegetables and fruit tree and herbs in your front yard, they'll fine you heavily for that. I said, you know, good luck thinking that you really do own your own home.
There's only one. I've got to tell the viewers and listeners. There's
Yeah,
only one person who truly owns their own home, and that is somebody who lives in an RV. Because when you park somewhere, you rent the spot, and as long as you
that's
have the money,
true.
you can go rent the spot anywhere.
That's true.
So, it's funny. I had a friend in South Carolina. Real quick ending note.
Yes.
He refused to pay his property tax. He said, "This is absurd. I grow food. I donate that food to charities. I shouldn't have to pay taxes." Well, this man, the day before his house was supposed to go up for auction, because he built and paid for his house with money that he earned, he actually moved it to another location. And it was not an RV, it was a beautiful home.
I
And
don't
he
blame.
moved it to another location
I don't blame them. And I,
because
yeah.
because you know what? You want to take the land, go ahead, but I built the fucking house.
Hey, I always say on Facebook on my group, Holistic Health Talk, which is my largest group, I have over 8,000 members. I always say that I would take county parks, state parks, and school grounds, and instead of plant ornamental trees, I would plant fruit trees and cultivate orchards and give it to the food pantries and the soup kitchens for the poor and the homeless, especially the homeless vets.
And you're cleaning the air, you're
Yes,
scrubbing the air with these trees.
that's right. That's
The
right.
kids could grab the apples if they wanted.
Right.
You
Or
grow whatever you can.
plums,
I don't
cherries.
get, I don't get why we have not integrated this yet. And I think this is a futuristic way of thinking. I'm not a progressive by any means. I'm a conservative, libertarian,
Right.
constitutionalist.
Right.
I believe in God. I have a Bible that goes with me every day when I
Right.
go to work. And one guy spoke to me at my job the other day, and I said to him, he said, why are you such an asshole?" And I said, "Well, because you can't be this big of an asshole without facts to back it up." And he said, "What do you mean by that?" And I went to my truck, my company truck, and I went into my, I call it my satchel, and I pulled out a hard copy of the Constitution and the New Jersey Constitution, United States Constitution and
Right.
Declaration of Independence, and I pulled out my Bible, and then I pulled out the rule book for jury duty, and I said, "That's why I can be such an asshole." And I put the books back in my bag, and he goes, "All that to make a point." And the owner of the company was in the parking lot when it happened.
Right.
And he looked at the driver of the other truck, and he goes, outspoken, outspoken, and doesn't give a shit unless you can back it up in facts.
Hey, by the way, he pulled it out of his satchel, and that's not Satchel Paige, the baseball pitcher. That's like a bag.
Oh, no, 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 no. That would have been hard to do, considering the only hole on him big enough would be his butthole.
Why? I heard he was pretty good. No one can hit Satchel. I heard.
I don't watch baseball.
Are you
I'm not a big sports guy. I mean,
really?
I hear the big things, but
Really?
I always go for the under. I always go for the underdog. I like hockey, football with leather helmets. Fuck all this new
Leather
stuff.
helmet. Oh, like the Three Stooges when they played football, they had the old-fashioned leather helmets on. Remember that?
Damn straight,
Oh
damn
man.
straight.
Oh man.
That's a real man.
Well, you know what? Real men played old school baseball when they didn't get $1 squillion a year and they weren't coddled and the ball
My
was harder to hit.
the people I'm looking for, the people I want to surround myself with, have moral compasses, have a direction, are willing to do more than just complain.
Right.
They're willing to get involved.
And not
They're
be
willing to get
and
involved.
not be an
And
athlete with a bunch of floozies chasing them like Alex Rodriguez banging all the Hollywood starlets and all that jazz when he used to, yeah, like real dedicated old school athletes I respect.
well, my mother had brothers growing up, and she was the oldest of seven. And she used to play full on tackle football with her brothers
Oh wow.
with no guards. You know, they didn't have any protective equipment. She would throw the ball and run. 5'3", Dutch woman, and
Hey.
my mother could fix a car. She could weld. She could sew. She was a hairdresser for her career. And those are the people I try to surround myself
She
with.
sounds like
Those are the
the fabulous Moolah who was one of many children. She was the only girl, and she had to fight her brothers for everything tooth and nail. That's why she had the belt, the title for 30 years. The fabulous Moolah from Columbia, South Carolina. Well, she's dead now, but she was like she had to fight and claw and scratch with her
well, I mean,
for everything.
my mother was born in Morris County, New Jersey, and actually born in Wayne, Preakness, when it was called Preakness, New Jersey.
I didn't know that. Preakness? Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Wayne used to be called Preakness, New Jersey.
Oh, like
She
the
was
racetrack in Maryland, the Preakness. Yeah.
my mother is the daughter of one of the original sisters, or the original daughters of one of the Kukin brothers. I believe Jacob Kukin, as in Kukin Brothers Lumber. You've seen their trucks around, I'm sure. You've lived in New Jersey your whole life.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about old Patterson when they had the silk city, silk industry, and the
It's funny you mention that, because the vehicle I drive for work says Silk City on the side of it.
Yeah, and Broadway in Elmwood Park that goes into Patterson, and all those big old Victorian looking homes, those mansions.
Mm-hmm.
All the Jews that ran the silk industry in Patterson, that's where they lived.
Live there.
That's where they lived.
But here's the deal: there are some parts of Patterson. I drive through Patterson every day. I got to tell you that there are parts of Patterson I wouldn't mind living in. There are some beautiful homes in Patterson. Beautiful homes. That I would love to buy one of them. They've got they've got about a half an acre.
Yeah.
Gorgeous home.
Oh, that's
I
called
mean, and then you go into some sections of this, and then you go into some sections, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Oh,
what happened?
That's called East Side Park, by the way, where all the mansions are. It's called East Side Park. But I performed at the Patterson Museum with my drum and the other performing artists during the art walk. I try to get to the art walk every year where they have all the artists, and on Spruce Street.
When does that happen?
It happens in the early summer. It's where the actually, let me announce it. Our nation's newest national park, the Great Falls, Patterson, New Jersey, the second.
Oh, congratulations, Patterson.
The second tallest.
Now let's see if you can follow suit.
The second tallest, second to the Niagara Falls on the East Coast, waterfall, and it became a national park, and it's by Spruce Street, and there's a lovely museum there. And say hi to the curator, Giacomo Di Stefano. He knows me well, and it's a beautiful museum.
Since we're dropping names, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a gentleman who works for Passaic County Parks, Department of Public Works.
Right.
His name is Joseph Maggio.
Maybe my brother-in-law knows him. I'll ask him. I don't know.
You gotta find out because he's a big time Passaic County guy. He's an older gentleman. He remembers when Patterson was a booming town where everybody had a job.
Right. And
My aunt,
yeah.
my father's sister, you might recognize this last name, Manafo.
Did they live like? There's an Italian section in Patterson by Chauncey Street, I think.
Correct.
Maybe they're
Correct.
from there. That I think Lou
She,
Costello.
do you remember Associated Bus Lines?
No.
It was right in Halden. It was based out of Halden.
Right.
My aunt, my father's sister, was the first licensed bus CDL driver in the state of New Jersey.
Oh wow.
So I have a lot of history here,
Yeah.
and seeing my state go down this progressive, monstrous, cancer-ridden, suicide road is frightening me.
Yeah. Well, that I just
My parents,
right.
James, my parents are buried here. Both of my parents are buried in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I don't want to have to go to their gravesite one day and see a bunch of refugees sleeping on top of their grave.
Well.
And that's what they're looking at in California currently. And they have the same mindseted governor like you do here.
Well, Los Angeles. There are many cities out there that are having an increased homeless problem. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know the composition of the homeless population because I can't say. I don't know. I don't know if there's what's going on. But
thankfully, one of us listens to Infowars, and there's a video online on YouTube. You can actually go to it and watch it. Since the sanctuary state law was enacted, the homeless population in Orange County, California, has exploded to where people are living on what was once a beautiful bike path that followed the coastline. And now it's littered with, I believe every month they collect about 22,000 pounds of garbage, roughly 5,000 used heroin needles.
Oh gosh.
And almost 5,000 pounds of human feces.
Well, from what I understand, when Ronald Reagan was alive, he emptied out all the mental institutions and had put them all on the streets.
To.
What?
He was forced to. He was forced to.
Forced to.
He was forced to. Because the legislation said this is cruel and unusual punishment, and the Eighth Amendment does not allow that. But the problem is that all they had to do was stop electroshock therapy, and all of those homeless people that are mentally ill would have still been taken care of by the state. And the state would have seen the amount of money it was costing them, and they would have found a way to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal, and I'm a firm believer in this. You cannot kick the can down the road. You have to do something with that can. Because when you are finally bored with kicking that can, it's going to be left there.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else is going to come along and say, look, that's a can. I'm going to kick it down the road. And they kick it down the road.
Mm.
And James, it is now at my foot. 38-year-old, single, heterosexual man.
Right.
Who works for a living.
Right.
Who is middle class.
Yes.
I am not going to kick this can down the road.
Hey, you do that in Singapore and they arrest you.
We, the people, are going to pick this fucking broken can up, and we are going to make it look like a primo 1951 Ford Crestliner.
Yeah. Hey,
And if you don't know
listen.
what that is, ladies and gentlemen,
What's that?
look it up.
Listen.
1951 Ford Crestliner.
Before we say goodnight, any second now, I just want to say to you firearm enthusiasts, the Samuel Colt firearm exhibit is in that museum in historic Paterson, New Jersey, off Spruce Street that I just mentioned, by the new national park. Samuel Colt firearms was made in Paterson, and the exhibit is in there along with Lou Costello's exhibit, and it's a lovely, lovely
And join the NRA.
Museum.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't even own a gun, join the NRA and then read the Constitution, and you'll know why you did.
They still make Henry rifles, by the way. Henry, the company Henry.
They still do make a Henry repeater rifle, and I would love to get my hands on one because it's a lever action, and that 303 and that 30-30. When you pull that trigger, and you know you dropped the buck, I got news for you. One, you feel proud of yourself, and two, if you're a real man, you go immediately to that buck's side, and you say a prayer for it, and you thank it, and you thank God for it.
Well, that's what native indigenous people do. They always say a prayer
when I go hunting. When I go hunting, James, I pray that I will be successful. And after I shoot that buck, when I field strip it and bring it back to my camper, and then I handle the rest of it, I don't waste a thing. I give the bones to a butcher. I give the skin to a leather maker. I eat all the organs except for the intestines and the stomach, obviously.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, to know that you were able to butcher your own food, it's a great feeling. Well, I don't know why people are so afraid of guns.
You do it out. You do it out in the field. It's a skill. Once you learn it, I mean, my brother-in-law gives me,
you got to practice.
I've made venison, chili, venison sauerbraten. I've made my brother-in-law used to give me venison pot roast all the time from he has a farmhouse in Oneonta, New York, by Cooperstown, and he's got his tree stands, and he goes up every year and climbs up in a tree, and hopefully he finds a nice buck. And what was I going to say about I think venison is wonderful. I mean, I was going to say something about wild. Coldsteel.com. Check out their blowgun if you like to do the old-fashioned way with small game, and they have this long, big bore blowgun. With the darts and everything.
Well, I think that it's funny. After that whole Parkland shooting thing, and I saw Miss Dana Lash get torn apart like that, I had to join the NRA. And I joined up a couple of friends of mine without them knowing. And they said, I just got an NRA book, and it's got my name on it, and I got a membership card. And I said, yeah, now read the Second Amendment. And then look around you, and then call me back. And my friend read it. He called me back, and he said, okay, I get it. I said, do you get it now? He said, I get it. I said, $600, you can become a lifetime member. Go for it.
You have certain
because
people.
These people are defending your rights as independent contractors. And I believe independent contractors are a great thing.
Now, these individuals in any given profession, let's say a teacher, if they have military experience and they have a license to carry, and let's say they're an NRA member,
then they should.
You pay them extra, and not tell anybody that they are like
Exactly.
that they're
Exactly. Because
yes,
here's the
right,
deal. Here's
right.
the deal. You know what? I like the way you think because you're talking about a surprise attack. Okay.
Well,
So
right,
an active shooter comes into a school, and this guy who nobody knew had a gun. He tells his students, "Get on the floor, lay flat. Nobody stands." The guy comes in the room, and the teacher pulls his weapon, fires 2 shots, drops the shooter. Nobody else dies.
exactly. But
Let me tell you something about the liberal left.
you take care of that teacher. You make sure he's compensated.
Well, and that's the deal. And the problem is, again, James, it comes back to oversight, and it comes back to waste. We are wasting $1.6 trillion a year with undocumented criminal trespassing immigrants.
Now, don't they have a Fed aboard every plane usually that you don't know about? Like,
Yeah, and you know what's funny? If I go into an airport
right.
after 9/11, I might as well get a prostrate exam from a fist. Aside from you stripping me naked, I have no dignity. I will never, ever, ever get on a commercial flight again.
Well,
considering that I have a cousin that has a plane.
I know they have a undercover federal armed person on the cabin. Oh, by the way, they didn't jiggle my balls or anything in Newark Airport or San Diego Airport. So I was lucky. No, they didn't
It's
play.
called it's called an air marshal.
The job is called an air marshal.
That's what the agent is called. He's called an air marshal.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that. Air marshals. Okay.
And it's funny how I can't walk into a building in New York City without giving my ID, but we have one overweight African American defaced school resource officer on duty at a school with 4,000 students.
Oh, really? Interesting.
We protected our banks. We protected our airports.
Right.
We protect our tunnels.
Yeah.
We try to protect our bike paths. That failed miserably. But yet, our most prized possession, our most precious possession for the future of our country and our survival, we left wide open as a soft target.
Right.
The minute Columbine happened, the minute it happened, a bill should have been introduced into Congress and the legislative offices of this country, and it should have said armed officers and security at schools as much as it takes. Okay, I'm signing on this. Nothing else attached to it. Not a cover story, straight up. That's what should have happened.
Right.
Because I was in high school when that happened. That could have been my school.
Hey, my favorite teacher in tech school, who was a computer networking technician professor, he was an ex-Marine. A guy like that would have been perfect to pay extra money to carry a gun under his jacket. You know, that would have been perfect.
And here's the deal. And unfortunately, Tucker is almost over, so It really doesn't matter at this point. Unfortunately, what has happened in this country, and people can't put two and two together anymore, and that really pisses me off. I mean, if you want to get into it, listen, I don't know if you're drinking your scotch tonight because I can't see you.
No, I'm drinking port. I finished drinking port wine, tawny port actually. Taylor.
All right. Well, I've drank 4, and I got to tell anybody who likes beer out there, I've been drinking Michelob Ultra Pure Gold.
Yeah.
and it's actually made with organic grains.
Oh.
It's 2.5 carbs and 85 calories. And I've drank four of those, and I got to tell you that I'm getting pissed off about those super far left progressives that think it's okay to leave your door unlocked at night.
Oh, what are they
I
insane?
don't
Are
care
they
where you live.
insane?
I don't care where you live.
They must be
I don't care
insane.
where you live. Everybody has a fucking lock on their door. We cannot afford to be the bankroll and the welfare system for other countries. We don't have those kind of funds. You know how I know that? You know why I know that?
Well, because
You ready?
we're in the red. That's why.
No, no. It's deeper than that, James. And here it is. And now you're going to call me a conspiracy nut. I don't care. Um, Everybody remembers 9/11/01, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the press conference held at the Pentagon on 9/10/01 with Donald Rumsfeld? Yes or no? Do you remember it or not?
I mean, there was a lot going on. I can't. No, I can't really say.
Okay. You remember 9/11/01? Yes?
I remember. What? Yeah, I remember the.
Okay.
Yeah.
9/10/01, 6 o'clock, ABC Channel 7.
Mm.
And I quote, Donald Rumsfeld. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a serious problem. And the press said, what's that? And he said, the Pentagon has misplaced 2.3 trillion with a T, dollars.
Oh, that issue. Oh, yes. Yes,
Stop.
yes.
Stop, full stop, period. The side of the Pentagon that got, quote unquote, hit by a plane, by the way,
Yeah, sure.
that wasn't a plane, was the only side of the Pentagon that had the accounting division in it. Stupid.
Oh, that employee that got fired, the black lady, the one that was interviewed. Yes.
Wrong. He got fired. But the deal is this. The only place that can investigate the missing 2.3 trillion with a T dollars got hit by a plane. By the way, on the only side of the Pentagon that was designed to take a hit like that.
I got you.
So, you still think I'm crazy?
No.
The World Trade Center, less than a week before, massive put options were put on American Airlines and United Airlines. Put options is a bet that a stock will fall.
Yes, a put. You mean versus call option? Put and call.
Exactly.
Put and call. Yes.
So,
put option.
If you still believe, by the by, 30 minutes before Building 7 fell directly into its footprint. Directly
imploding, like, yes.
The BBC reported that Building 7 fell. Wake up, ladies and gentlemen. You have been fucked in the ass. And you've been bleeding internally for decades.
Well, the amount of
the
heat,
fuck up.
The amount of heat caused by the jet fuel from that crash was not enough to bring down that building and to melt steal to that degree.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you are one of the few that believe that in this area. People say I can heat steel and bend it over. Okay, heat steel and push it straight down.
what
It
about
doesn't work that
what
way.
about the witnesses that heard a huge explosion at the base of the building prior to the building coming down?
You mean the janitor that worked there for over 25 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he said that the basement blew up before the plane hit. And that is the elite's biggest mistake. The basement blew up before the plane hit, because if they blew up at the same time, you wouldn't have a problem. By the by, all of those supposed 19 hijackers
Yeah.
all came in on the Visa lottery program.
Oh, and they were all Saudis.
Thank you. So
The Saudi.
people
Yes.
think we're in a war with the Middle East because of oil. It is one word, but it's 3 syllables.
Poppies? No. Well,
No.
that's Afghanistan.
Lithium.
Lithium. Where's the richest source of lithium in the Middle East? Exactly.
It is actually in the mountains between Afghanistan and Russia.
Oh, so the poppy thing might be a diversion. The warlords with the opium might be a little bit of a diversion to that, right?
The largest vein of lithium on the face of the planet Earth is directly in the mountains between Russia and Afghanistan, which is why Russia was in Afghanistan from 1950 to 1930 to 1985.
And that the media never really discussed in detail.
Of course not, because if they did, the American people would have stood up and said, "Hey, Reagan, you were a B-actor, idiot, illiterate fuck, bozo-looking fuck. And now you're the president. Get us the fuck out of there."
Well, Hollywood said he was a lousy Screen Actors Guild president before he ever became governor of California. But yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna say this once for the people listening, and once for you. The last American president that we had as a nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, was Ronald Reagan before President Trump.
Yeah,
because every other president has had a speech or 10 that actually mentioned the New World Order. Did you know that? President Bush, the first Bush, he said he had 10 speeches that talked about the New World Order.
Eisenhower mentioned the military-industrial complex in his speeches. which is and always has been the New World Order. Yeah, well, hey.
Do you get it? Do you get it yet?
JFK, so on and so forth. So on and so forth.
We have been duped on a level that is disturbing. The American people have been lied to on a level that is staggering. And what is even more staggering and more stunning is that how smart we think we are. We are dumb as fucking rocks.
Oh, without a doubt.
We are dumb as rocks, James. You are being laughed at in your face, and the joke has been spelled out in graffiti on the wall, and you're standing there smiling.
Now you're gonna like the title of this week's show because it goes right in hand of what we're talking about. It's like now
we are like you said, we're lemmings. And certain people in this group have woken up. I got to hand it to Kanye West. He said the mob mentality will never make me stop loving my president, Donald Trump.
Listen.
That's a patriot.
People, everybody, everyone who's an American citizen, no matter how old you are, please, all of you, register to vote and make sure you get your lazy asses out of the house and vote. I don't care if you vote for Elmer Fudd. Just vote. Just go. Get it over with. Vote.
That's the goal.
Vote.
And you gotta. But wait a minute. You know, you tell them to vote.
Just vote.
You gotta understand something. You're not dealing with a lot of these people that are going to come out and vote. They don't have that mentality yet because they have been brainwashed most of their lives, James.
Well,
you need to have them make educated, futuristic decisions.
Well, you know what the knuckleheads...
We've never had a blue-collar president.
Well,
we've never had that.
You know what the numbers...
And yes,
you know what the numbers
our
goes
president
on...
currently...
You know what the numbers goes on Facebook say? Oh, politics bores them. Well, you want to be selfish? Don't cry about how your life is or your standard of living. I don't want to hear it, I tell them.
If you don't vote, you can't complain.
You have no right to complain. Exactly.
You had a chance to save what you thought was the right thing to do.
Right.
And you failed.
You flunked.
Because you did not go out and vote.
A very intelligent old Jewish man told me that when I was a kid. If you don't vote, you have no right to complain. He was absolutely right. And that's the fact. And on that note, I think the best value as far as quality cheap beer has to be Genesee Cream Ale for the price. For the price. I mean,
well, if I'm going for price and I just want to get effed up, it's 3 40-ounce Budweisers.
Oh, I can't drink that cheap shit. No, I mean Genesee Cream Ale is, it's got a nice flavor to it,
My brother used to drink Guinness.
Guinness stout.
And I told him it was like chewing a meat shake. I can't drink Guinness. Fuck that.
Oh, you'll freak. If you think Guinness is strong, you should try this Polish porter called Zwick. It starts with a Z. Zwick. I get it at Piast in Garfield. When I get the fresh kielbasa, they got this. Oh, it'll knock you on your ass. One bottle. It is really. But
no, I smoke too many cigarettes when I drink, so. Every beer I have, I usually have 2 cigarettes.
So
if I have a 6 or 8 pack, that's 16 cigarettes. So, it's something that keeps me going.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Hey,
James, I'll let you go.
Thank you.
And God bless.
Same here.
And let's do this again real soon because I tell you what, I think our conversations are getting more in depth, and I enjoy them.
Well, it's becoming.
And God bless the listeners, and
it's becoming not only the voice of reason, but it's becoming a very multifaceted and deeper show as far as educational experience for the masses, educating the masses, and the asses.
That's what needs to happen, sir.
The asses of the masses. Yes. Okay.
You got to get them off their asses and get them to vote educated.
Yeah.
End of story.
You know what? We might have to pump them
forward. One step at a time.
I think America's millennials might need the psychedelic mushrooms to grow the brain cells back. They might need some.
I am down for dosing tons of people with mushrooms.
I want to dose them with something. Yeah. All right, Chief. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless. Take it easy.
Bye bye.